G'day guys, Chronicles of Solid here and welcome back to the garage. I've got both bikes out today, as you can see. I've been getting quite a few messages about people buying their first motorcycle, preferably dual sport or off-road or adventure bike. So I thought I'd do a video just going through some tips and hints on what to think about before making your first motorcycle purchase, just for the noobs out there who are looking to get their first bike and don't really know what to do. That's who this video is for, so let's get into it. Before we start, you can see I've got a nice brand new jacket. I actually won this in a competition. I sent in a photo that a friend had taken of me, and Adventure Moto thought that it was good enough to win this jacket. And also a shout out to Harry, you know who you are, mate. He sent me through a photo and let me know that I'd won. One of my kind subscribers, so thanks mate. Okay, tip number one is consider your ability to ride and your physicality. And what I mean by those two things is, if you're a brand new beginner, you haven't ever ridden a motorcycle before, there's no point in getting the fastest, prettiest, best off-road bike you can, when in all likelihood you're probably going to drop it and break it, and you're really not going to be able to use it for what it's made for quite some time. So match the bike to your skill level. So if you're just starting out and you're not the quickest learner, it might be better to get something you feel confident on and that is easy to ride, rather than, you know, something that's going to give you a 12-inch internet penis instead, where you can wheelie into the sunset. So have a think about that, and also think about what I mean by physicality is your fitness. How fit are you? There's no point in thinking you're going to be an enduro god if you weigh 300 pounds and you've got a high blood pressure. You really need to think about your fitness and what your body can handle before buying a bike. And also think about things like injuries. The younger guys out there who are getting their first motorcycle, you might not have had enough time to accumulate body injuries and pains and woes, but you guys that are getting back into motorcycles after raising a family, you'll know about injuries you would have sustained in your earlier life. So think about things, if you got back problems or something like me, I've got a shoulder injury, or you've got knee injuries, think about the kind of bike that's going to be comfortable for you and whether you can physically handle riding that motorcycle. Because it's no point being uncomfortable all the time, because that will just ruin the enjoyment. Okay, tip number two is know your options. It's really good to know the kind of bikes that are out there, you know, the categories like dual sports like this one here, or adventure bikes behind me. Then you've got enduros and MX bikes. It's good to know the kind of categories, so then you can explore those categories and you can really kind of figure out where you fit in, and that kind of helps you decide what kind of bike you want and what kind of riding you're going to be doing. And it also helps to understand the kind of bikes you're going after, especially when you're going to purchase a bike, because especially in dealerships, guys tend to have silver tongues. So if you know what you're talking about, it really serves you not to get swindled, especially second-hand. If you know what you're looking for and what you're after, then that's obvious to the other person and you're less likely to get robbed. So tip number three is know your body and what you're comfortable with. Make sure the motorcycle fits you and is comfortable. It ties into the physicality thing, but you need a bike that's not going to be too cramped on the pegs for you. So if you're a really tall guy, you might want a really tall motorcycle. But at the same token, if you're a really short guy and you can't touch the ground on a motorcycle, that might be really worrying or scary as a new rider. You might want something that you can get your feet on the ground to make you feel more confident. You also might not like being hunched over. You might want a bike where you're more upright. So it might serve to find a bike with some nice high handlebars. And other things like the seat and various other comfort options. Just think about how you'll fit the bike and whether it will serve the purposes that you want it for. Tip number 5 is, should you go new or should you go used? I'm not going to tell you to go either way. I've done both. the Yamaha is used and the BMW was brand new. The advantages with going new with something like the BMW is that I get a warranty with it, so if anything breaks I can fix it. I also get the knowledge that no one else has messed with it. I'm not getting sold a lemon, and if something does break, the dealership will fix it without any issues. Now obviously the disadvantage with used is you could get sold a lemon if you're not on your game or you're not paying attention, but the advantages are that it's significantly cheaper. Also, people tend to accessorize the motorcycles. So when I bought this, it already came with a few bits and bobs on it. So it saved me having to go and buy those things myself. So it saved me money in the long run. So that's something to think about, is all the accessories you can get. And the third benefit with used bike is generally people have already put a ding or a scratch on them before you've got to it. So I don't feel quite so bad dropping and bashing this thing around because it's already had that done to it, so I'm not so precious about it. So that can free you up when you're off-road and you're not paranoid about falling over because it's just a bike that's made to take the hits. The next tip is the budget. That's an obvious one, but there's more to it than just the outright purchase of your motorcycle. You really need to budget for safety gear. I can't stress that enough. There's no point in having a really nice bike, going out on your first off-road ride and then breaking all your limbs and being in hospital for the rest of your life. It's better to, plan ahead, get all your safety gear. It's going to cost quite a lot, so have a look what's out there and budget for it. But also, more than that, think about the long-term costs of owning the motorcycle you're planning to buy. And what I mean by that is things like insurance. The BMW is far more expensive to insure than the little Yamaha is. Things like fuel consumption, these two are actually quite comparable, but that's something I really wanted when I bought a motorcycle, was something that can be very fuel efficient to save my wallet. Things like service costs, how much is the dealership going to charge you to fix the bike? Other things like tyres are very important. Adventure bikes tend to be the most expensive because they've got much bigger road orientated tyres, so they're way more expensive than dual sport or enduro tyres. So that's another thing to consider. And just basic costs like oil, lubing the chain, general day-to-day maintenance. You need to consider all that before getting a bike because it's not a cheap hobby to have. Another tip is to think about whether you're going to have a passenger or not. For you guys and girls out there that have a partner, you might want some space on your motorcycle to squeeze a passenger. Obviously this little Yamaha isn't the perfect bike for taking a passenger, but the BMW's got more than enough room for me and my wife to happily tour on without a problem, so you might want to think about person number 2 on your bike. Another thing to consider is the distance you have to travel to the trails. I generally have to do about 50 to 100 kilometers to get to the trails, so that meant I needed a motorcycle that was comfortable on the road and could handle the road and highway enough to get to the trails so I wasn't fatigued and dead before I even started the off-road ride. If you live 5 kilometers from the trails, or you own a van or a trailer, you might be able to get something a lot more dirt orientated because you don't have as far to travel on the road. So those are things to consider as well. So that about wraps this video up. I hope those tips have been helpful to some of you. Next video I'll be out in some nice deep sand again, so there should be plenty of footage of me crashing everywhere. Until then, thanks for tuning in guys. Like, share and subscribe, and I'd love to see your comments down below, especially you guys who've been riding for a while. Maybe you can offer some more tips down in the comment section. Until then, I've been Chronicles of Solid, and I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later.